to the conflict in the Middle East, which has escalated with tensions mounting between Israel, Hamas, and Iran recently. To find out where this is headed, we're joined by John Bolton. He's a former U.S. ambassador to the UN who served as National Security Advisor for President Donald Trump during his first term in office. Thank you for being with us, Ambassador.
Glad to do it.
So tell me, what was your reaction to this 60-day ceasefire deal that President Trump is pushing? Netanyahu says he wants the complete defeat of Hamas.
Well, I think it's a necessary goal. I don't think the people of Gaza or Israel are ever going to have a chance at lasting peace and security while Hamas exists as a functioning military and political force. You know, there are still parts of this incredible underground tunnel network in Gaza that Hamas still controls. And if that is allowed to remain in place, then the threat of terrorism that we saw on October the 7th and before that will simply remain. So I think the objective of eliminating Hamas as a political and military force is legitimate and the correct one to pursue.
Now, Netanyahu has got a trip coming up to the White House next week. What do you think is going to be the focus of those meetings?
I think that certainly the situation in Gaza and the potential for a deal, we still haven't heard Hamas's reaction yet, but whatever the state of play on that will be a major subject. But I suspect that the largest issue for the two is what to do with Iran in the wake of the Israeli and U.S. attacks on the Iranian nuclear program, what next steps to take, how to make sure that the Iranians can't try to rebuild the program, and what to do about the regime itself.
On June 24th, the president made a very off-color comment that really made its way around the internet about Israel and Iran don't know what the F they're doing. Is that something that would, ruffle the feathers of Benjamin Netanyahu?
Well, I've known him for a long time. I don't think anything ruffles his feathers. I think that Trump saw the chance of a ceasefire. I think the ceasefire was premature because we're not really sure how much damage, what the extent of the damage is to the nuclear program. I think it's extensive, but I don't think the program has been obliterated. But I think Trump thought that it would help his image if he could get a ceasefire. He was worried that neither Israel nor Iran wanted it for obviously very different reasons, and he was reacting that way. And all I can say is, I don't think that's the way a president should behave in public, but all I can say is I saw a lot of that in private in the first term, and the one big difference between the first term and the second term is that Trump's inhibitions about acting in public the way he used to act in private seem to have disappeared.
You brought up the Iran's nuclear capabilities. Is there any way for the U.S. or Israel to actually know what the state or their capacity is after they were attacked, after the bombs were dropped?
Well, there's never perfect knowledge in battle damage assessment, but there are a lot of ways to find out the answer to that question, and certainly we would be able to detect if the Iranians were trying to build out from the damage that has been done, or moving materials around, or doing other things that we could identify that would be evidence that they're continuing to try and revive the nuclear program. So I think that's something that's going to be very important to make sure we have as much information as we can get. Intelligence is never perfect. We know that from painful experience, but the more you can get, the better off you are.
And how did you react when you had heard the U.S. And had it strike on Iran's nuclear facilities? Were you surprised?
I was a little bit surprised. I don't think Trump necessarily wanted to get into this, but I think the Israeli action in starting the attack really forced to make a go, no-go decision. He either did not get involved or did, and he would have had to have borne the consequences if he had left it entirely to Israel. He made a very, very big point in his 2016 campaign to stop Iran from getting nuclear weapons, to get out of the seriously flawed 2015 deal that Obama had made with the Ayatollahs, and he did that. And and not to be at the head of the parade with Netanyahu and trying to destroy the program, I think left him in a potentially difficult position. So I'm glad that he did it, but better late than never.
And since he has done it, what comes next?
Well, I think there are two aspects. One is what we've been talking about, following up to make sure that the maximum possible damage is done to the nuclear program and associated facilities, the air defenses, to make sure the Iranians don't build them back up again, to make sure we continue to have dominance in the air over Iran. And then the larger question that I think we've got to confront, not just us but the Europeans as well, is whether it's not finally time to say we want regime change in Iran, that the 46 years of the Ayatollahs is coming to an end, and that we can try and find a way to get a government in Iran that won't be the principal threat to peace and security in the region, as this regime has been since 1979.
Hamas has signaled it won't accept a ceasefire without an Israeli withdrawal. Israel seems determined to press on militarily. Is there any diplomatic leverage left to break that deadlock?
Well, I'm skeptical that we will get a ceasefire of any consequence, and that the Hamas position identifies the fundamental difference between the positions. Israel has been willing to consider a ceasefire for a limited number of time to get hostages back, but insists that it's going to continue with the objective of eliminating Hamas militarily and politically. And what Hamas has said repeatedly is they'll give all the hostages back, but they want an end to the war. And it's very difficult to compromise those two positions. And even when you do get a ceasefire, it's been since the beginning, since October the 7th, they've been very short. And obviously have not involved the release of all the hostages. So I think there's still a long way to go. I don't know how this particular negotiation will turn out. I expect we won't know really until Monday when Netanyahu meets with Trump.
And you've mentioned the hostages. Does Israel even really know the status of the people that are still missing?
Well, unfortunately, I don't think so. I mean, the fear is that most of the hostages are already dead, and so we're talking about getting their remains back so that their families and friends can have closure on the issue. And I think that remains a worthwhile objective, but really exposes the utter cynicism of Hamas to have held out the hope for these families that their loved one is still alive when Hamas knows full well that they're dead.
Yeah. So what would you say is Netanyahu's approach?
Well, I think he has staked his government on defeat of Hamas, and that's characterized, as we've been discussing, as eliminating them politically and militarily. I think that's a reasonable goal. When the United States was attacked at Pearl Harbor, we insisted on unconditional surrender from Japan and Germany, and that's what we got, and we've had peace with Japan and Germany since then.
All right. Well, thank you so much for joining us. That was John Bolton, former U.S. ambassador to the UN. He also served as national security advisor for President Donald Trump during his first term in office. And wishing you an early happy 4th of July.
Well, happy 4th to you, too.
All right. Thanks so much.
Thank you.